I've got the April Material Girls Club all set up, and today we're doing some Knitlit themed activities. So if you don't know, Knitlit is the Material Girls book club, because I found just through, you know, talking to people in the community that a lot of people in Material Girls are really excited about like craft and politics and reading more about what the intersections there are. So we started Knitlit, our little logo, this is a sticker, so that we could read books all together. And so far, it started in June, we did This Versus Stitch. Next month was Aesthetics of Excess. And this month, August, we're doing Where Next by Claire Press. So I've got some of the books over here for people to flip through if they're interested. This is our book pick for this month. We're doing bookmarks for the craft this time. So the idea is you can put it into your Knitlit reads. This is just a quick one I made as an example. So lots of craft materials out to make those kind of just collage over these bookmarks. So everyone will get like a base for their bookmark, and then you can collage different colors of construction paper and glitter paper, and we have gems and glitter glue, of course, all that fun stuff. And then each person is also getting, as usual, a flyer, a Material Girls sticker, and then a Knitlit sticker. So I guess you would put this on your bookmark, but I usually put them on the front of my book because I think it's cute when like Oprah's book club or Reese's book club or whatever puts their like book pick logo on the front. So this is like the right size to do that if people are interested in it. And then on the inside, this is a little sticker that you can put on the inside of the book that says from the Knitlit library of your name, when you read it, and then your rating. So I think that's quite cute. I've been doing that with mine, and I think it's a cute way to like keep the collection all together and kind of document what we've been reading together. Knitlit has no monthly meetup. We just talk in the Discord chat. So I'm just doing this today because for people who come to Material Girls Club, I think it is an exciting way to like get excited about Knitlit, but anyone around the world can be a part of it. So if you're interested in reading along with us, all you have to do is join the Discord chat. So we have a Material Girls Discord where people chat about all sorts of things, and there's a channel in there called Knitlit where people talk about like book recommendations. We'll talk about the books that we're reading, but also that's just kind of where people have been sharing like free resources that they find. And yeah, so I'm very excited to have that as like a part of the Material Girls community. Excited to see, you know, what people have to say about it today and to celebrate a little bit and make a little cute girly book club inspired craft. I'm debuting my latest sewing project today. This is the Dolly mini dress by Caroline Hunsholt, and I did a whole other video showing the process of making this. I'll link down below, but I sewed it with this gorgeous cheetah fabric, and I love the little red bow. I have my red Mary Janes on to match, so cute little handmade fit. Exciting project update. I finished my rose tank. So this is a pattern designed by Rosevein and put out as a kit by Wool & Gang, and it uses the Wool & Gang Shiny Happy Cotton, so it's very like nice for summer. And I'm so proud of this because it was my first like open work crochet pattern, and I was a little intimidated because I just feel like my brain works better with the organization of like knitting. Like there's one row, it's on the needle, you can see everything, and it's just like very straight back and forth. And so thinking about like going off the like just straight stitch on stitch pattern kind of freaked me out, but it was a lot easier than I expected. It's actually pretty much all just double crochets in different, you know, formats. You make the front, you make the back. It starts with mesh stitch down here, and then you build it up and do your open work for the little florals, shape the neckline, connect the two front and back pieces together, and then little red trim, which I do love a crochet trim. I love putting that even on like knitted garments because I think it just adds so much, and with this one especially really brought it all together, I think. You can't see it, but I'm wearing my red Mary Janes to match today. I love adding a little like pop of color in a trim and then getting to match all my accessories. 10 out of 10, great project. Definitely something fun for summer because I was kind of struggling to find like a knitting crochet, something that I was excited about for summer, and I feel like this is going to be actually very wearable. I want to figure out what to wear underneath this. I'm just wearing like a black tube top, but I feel like I could figure out something cuter. I don't know if I should be trying to like do something where you don't notice that there's something underneath, like it's just very kind of like fades into the background, or do something where it's like, no, I am wearing something underneath. I'm trying to show some cool layering happening here. It'll be fun to play around with. Updates are not as positive about my cluster stitch scarf. I actually have no updates. I don't think I've worked on this at all since the last video. I need to because, like I said, this is going to be a Material Girls pattern, so I need, you know, a full scarf to be done pretty soon. Also, the tank top took precedence. I was like, I can actually finish this and wear it this season. How fun. It was really hard to get motivated about something like fall, autumn, wintry. This is probably what I'll get into next. Either way, having two crochet projects going at the same time is kind of a lot for me. I am known to have a favorite child and like knitting a little bit better than crochet, don't tell. I have multiple things going that I'm excited about, pretty cool. I actually don't have any knitting projects going on right now. Don't know what they will be just because I feel like it's not sweater season yet, and that's really what I like to work on. I'm super inspired by this top to do more crochet stuff because this is actually my first full crochet garment, I think, because usually I just do, like I said, like accessories and stuff, because I tend to with garments like the look of knitting better, and I think that I like crochet for accessories because you can do more freeform stuff, and because I think it's a little more like structural and sturdier if you're making bags and things like that. But I've been doing these beginner crochet workshops, I've been teaching Grace how to crochet. It's just kind of a crochet moment for me right now, which is feeling a little like odd, but very fun. The crochet girls have some cute stuff going on, so happy to be a part of the gang. Grace and I are going to the Eras tour today. Here's my little outfit. So, okay, all these jewels are from like Material Girls Club activities. I literally went to the studio this morning to get a bunch of different jewels, and it's a great day to be a craft facilitator because I was stocked and ready for this. So I have my little pearl jewels and my bows and pearls all over, and this little sparkly top I got at the thrift store, and my cowgirl boots. I wish I could like show the whole thing together, but feeling very cute. We did not expect to go to this. I got the tickets literally 2 weeks ago. I was working from home, and a notification popped up on my phone and was like, you're off the wait list. And it was from Ticketmaster, and I was looking all around to be like, is this really Ticketmaster? Am I about to get scammed? But I immediately entered the queue, and there were only 40 people in front of me, and I was able to buy tickets. We're straight back from the stage, but like at the upper like level, so it's not really nosebleeds. We're gonna have a good view. We're just gonna be far away. But I got both of us there for 120 pounds 2 weeks before the show at Wembley in London. I felt so blessed. I was literally like geeking out. I was just sitting there and like smiling like a goof and texting Grace like, you won't believe what I just got. So we're going to the Eras tour tonight. I'm super excited. I was also so smart in my like sudden moment of I need to buy these right now because I got them on a Saturday, which means we didn't have to like take off work or anything. We just have spent Saturday like hanging out and getting ready all afternoon. So it's gonna be so fun. We're gonna like eat a little bit and head out to Wembley, but feeling very fun and cute and so excited to see this and just like see all the other girls there in their cute little outfits and see what surprise songs play, and just very lucky to have gotten these because I tried to get tickets about like a year ago when they first went on sale for the London shows, and here we are still getting to go. I'm a lucky girl. It's a great day. So excited. Hello, I've been reading Decentering the Museum, Contemporary Art Institutions and Colonial Legacies by Nina Montman, and this has been so interesting, especially after a few months ago I read Decolonizing the Museum, which is a different book by a different author, but I'll link that down below in the video that I talk about it in because this really kind of like builds on those ideas. So Decolonizing the Museum talks a lot about like the colonial roots of museums, of collections, and how they began in just really violent ways. And Decentering the Museum kind of builds off of those ideas and says, what if we just completely move on from the museum model, rethink the ways that we represent our histories and our stories and our art as a society, and presents a lot of different examples of how we might do that. There isn't as much history in this book going in depth about why museums are colonial and why they can be problematic. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I would recommend reading Decolonizing Museums, but this talks a lot about decentering Western thought and how museums have kind of propped up Western ideas as the pinnacle of society, and ideas on how to rethink presenting collections and galleries that don't perpetuate that. It starts off by critiquing big museums and institutions and basically saying that like what they're doing isn't even that interesting anyway. Like they kind of shade these big museums and they say like, especially big art museums are so obsessed with getting like the biggest artist of our time to put on a show that you don't really see that many interesting like fringe artists in the museum, because these museums are such big like corporations basically. They're not really responding to the current moment, sharing what art is affecting society right now. It's often retrospectives of people with 70-year-long careers, which certainly has its place and is interesting in a context of art history, but basically they're saying like they're not on the forefront of sharing really cool art stuff. They talk about both art museums and like historical museums that would have, you know, objects that are potentially looted, and they talk a lot about their funders and their supporters and how they often have these huge funders who then completely dictate what happens in the museum, and they basically say like these museums are not responding to society because they have to to respond solely to their funders basically in order to stay open. And like I said, they're talking about these museums that hold historical objects that have often been looted from other countries, but they also talk about art museums, and they say like art museums are an interesting case when it comes to decolonizing and decentering the museum, because they're not necessarily dealing with looted objects, but you can tell what canon is considered the most important, the most impressive to these art museums. And so in the context of an art museum, what's really important is decentering this idea of Western thought and Western artistry as being the pinnacle of civilization and the only important thing to show. And the author also does go through defining in detail decentering, decolonizing, demodernizing, and saying these things all link together, but it's important that we know what they mean separately from each other as well, so we can be really specific when we're talking about these things. What the author advocates for when it comes to decentering museums is more small art communal spaces. They talk about small community organizations just being more agile. They're not as tied to funders and needing to please funders. They're often run by community members, and the collections are informed by what people in the community find important. She talks about traveling collections that make these things more accessible, gives some really cool examples of exhibitions that have been put on where objects have been sourced from within communities and shared to really tell the story of a community, of a country, of a space, of an idea, whatever it may be. I'm honestly quite a nerd about like museums and collections, and so they also were saying some things that I found really interesting in there about how physically museums are laid out, and it's often in a very linear way. And the Western mindset in museums is like, we'll put things on walls and it's going to be very clear that you should like start here and walk through the room like this and look at each piece of art on its way, and it's very led by the curators. There's a presented way for you to move through the museum, and so there were some cool examples too of how different exhibitions have been set up so that people can move through more freely. A lot about opposing the traditional Western canon. Eras of art history are generally defined by things that were happening in the West, the Renaissance. Who was big at the time? Was it Raphael? Was it Michelangelo? These people have become such like mega artists in our mind, and that's kind of like because we keep talking about them. There was certainly other important art happening at the time, but it's not what's presented by big museums and things like that. So it talks a lot about how can we, you know, find the voices that were not being heard during those periods. How do we find the voices that are not being heard during our period and present a better just like example of what's truly going on in the art world. A concept that came up a lot that I didn't expect that I found really interesting, especially because they used craft examples to talk about it, was the concept of repair. And obviously when we're talking about decolonization, repair is certainly part of that. We're trying to repair histories, to repair communities. In the context of decentering the museum, decolonizing the museum, they talk a lot about how when certain museums in the West have been called out and said, you know, you need to work on decolonizing, how they've put forward maybe very Western ideas of what that repair should look like. And it's not very holistic, and it doesn't take into account what previously colonized communities actually want or need. And I talk about how a Western notion of repair is usually that we should repair something so that you can't even notice that it was ever broken. Say that's not the point here. It's important that we remember, it's important that we know our history. They use the example of the Japanese art kintsugi, which is where you take cracks, like often in like vases, and you fill them with gold. And so you can still see that there was a crack there, but it's repaired so that the vase is now usable. And they use that as a metaphor for the kind of repair that decolonization efforts should be aiming for, saying it's not possible and it's not really a helpful goal to want to repair something and act like there was never anything wrong with it. We can actually make things more beautiful by recognizing the history and, you know, showing what the repair was and acknowledging that all together. And that's what kintsugi is known for, that the piece actually becomes more beautiful because you can see the life that it's lived. So very thought-provoking. I will link this book down below. Next week, I'm gonna do a little like knit with me and ask me anything. And I asked questions on my Instagram already, so I have a few that I'm gonna be answering. But if there's anything else you want to, leave in the comments below. I haven't filmed it yet. I will see you back here next Tuesday for that. Make sure to subscribe and like down below so you can see more of what I'm getting up to as an artist in London, and I hope you have a great week.